Alright guys, welcome to my channel. For this tutorial, we're going to be looking at an introduction to C++ programming. Now you should know that this video comes in various parts, so be sure you do subscribe to be updated about the other parts of this tutorial video. Now for this first part of the tutorial, we're going to be looking at what is C++ programming, what is it used for, how can we get started. We're going to look at the syntax, statement, variables, and data types. Then we're going to learn how to write our first program, which is going to be a hello world program. Alright, so get yourself comfortable, get a new note and a pen, and let's begin. So before we start learning how to code in C++, we need to understand and know what C++ is. Well, basically C++ is a general multipurpose programming language that was developed in 1983. It is an object-oriented programming language, which means it can be used to create objects in which the properties and methods can be created in the class given to that object. So basically, object-oriented programming gives us a lot of edge in developing a whole lot of versatile softwares. And yes, C++ is not C programming, rather it's a modified version of C programming language. For as many of you may have heard of C programming, and one of the most popular opinions about what people give about C++, I hear people say that C++ is a dead language, should we learn it? No, in fact C++ is not actually a dead language, and I don't think there's going to be a time where C++ is going to actually be dead. Just like Java, C++ is used by many and lots of softwares and game development most especially. And for as many of you who know the JavaScript runtime environment Node actually runs and was embedded with C++ code, and a lot of our browsers actually work with C++. Lots of computer system operating systems are created with C++. So C++ is not a dead language. It's very useful and profitable. Now we want to look at what the uses of C++. What am I going to be able to create if I have a good knowledge of C++ programming? But first off, one of the uses of C++ is used for building an operating system. A typical example is the Microsoft Windows operating system. It's also used for game browsing. Those are games that run on browser modules. And a perfect example is the Opera GX browser. It's used by browsers to create algorithms and other network optimization functions by the browsers. It's also used for creating desktop applications using data structures, machine learning and artificial language along with Python, and most especially and popularly it is used in game programming and other functions. So C++, being termed a general multipurpose language, simply means it can be used for anything, given that you have the right knowledge of it and have a total knowledge of how to apply C++. Okay. Alright, let's get started with C++. Alright, in order for you to start coding in C++, we're going to need some certain tools. The first and the most important is a compiler. And we have lots of C++ compilers out there. Popular ones are C++, code blocks, and if you wish to use Visual Studio Code, try installing G++ and C++ compiler from your marketplace in the Visual Studio Code. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to be making use of the dev C++. So if you wish to use dev C++ also, you can check the video description below. The link to download to dev C++ is going to be provided there. It's very easy. Just make sure you open the link on your PC and follow the steps and create desktop icon, and there you have it. Your dev C++ is ready to be used. As for those of you who wish to use your Android phones to code dev C++, I'm also going to provide a video link on the description to install a particular app that is going to help you compile C++ into your Android phone from the Play Store. So be sure you check the video description for the links and get your softwares ready.
Alright, now let's start coding. So in order for you to start coding C++, as I said earlier, we're going to make use of our dev C++ compiler, which I recommend for this course as a beginner. You can make use of alternatives with code blocks if you want, but I strongly advise you start with dev C++ for the course of this video. And as I said, this video is going to be created in various parts, so please ensure you do subscribe to be updated on the release of other parts of this video. This video is basically going to cover the core concepts, which are statements, syntax, and data types, variables. So let's get started. Alright, so I'm just going to launch my dev C++. Okay. Alright, and be sure you've created a folder on your desktop, C++ code. That's where we're going to store and save all our codes. Alright, it's pretty easy. just right click on your desktop, click on new, and just tap folder, give it a name. Okay, alright, so let's launch our dev C++. Alright, so as you can see already, this project has been saved, firstproject.cpp. Now how do we save a C++ code? Let's start with that. Alright, let's go to file and just click save as. Alright, go to desktop, you find the folder which you created, which you named C++ codes. Alright, this is mine. Okay, I'm just going to open this. Alright, so open. Alright, so how do we save a C++ file? In computer, every of your files or application have an extension. This extension defines how it's going to behave on your computer. Alright, tells the computer what application to launch it, what environment to launch it, what should edit and what should not edit. Your music players have an extension of .mp3, videos .mp4, pictures JPEG. You have .html, .css, .py, and so on. For C++, we are using .cpp, which is going to tell the computer what environment is going to be used to run the output of our code. And in this case, we're going to make use of the terminal, because our C++ is going to compile the cpp to an .exe, which is an executable file. Alright, remember, C++ is an object-oriented programming, and it's going to be quite time-taking, but with right practice and if you follow up properly, you are going to do just fine. So please be sure that you have your notes and pen ready and take notes of every little bit of this lesson. Alright, so I'm going to just name this project period cpp. Alright, cpp is our extension for C++, and you make sure that there is no space between the period and the extension of the name. Alright, so just going to click save. Alright, so project.cpp is open right now. Okay, alright, so this is our project.cpp. It has been created for us. So now let's begin. How do we code C++? Okay, how do we start about this? When you just look at some most important things you need to know that must be included in your C++ code before you can start using it. Okay, alright, just like Java, C++ also works with lots of libraries and packages. These libraries are basically used to define our codes or the reserved words which we are going to be making use in C++. Right, the reserved words or the keywords are basically the syntax, alright, of our programming languages. Okay, this syntax defines how C++ should be written. In other programming languages, they have their own separate syntax. C++ also has its own syntax. Okay, and this syntax are the rules, and if these rules are not followed properly, you are going to generate a syntax error. Alright, so when you're writing your C++ code, the first thing you want to include are your preprocessors. Alright, your preprocessors. Alright, our preprocessors, also known as our library headers. Now, to include this is very easy. All you have to do is just to say hashtag include, then you open tag. Alright, then within this tag you include the processor or the library which you want to use, and there are tons of library, tons of preprocessor. Some are built with your compiler, some you are going to have to install them directly. So the first thing you need to include, as I said, is going to be your preprocessor. Now, in order for you to use the C++ reserved words, which are the syntax used for coding C++, for those of you who may not have experience with other programming language, when I'm talking about syntax, I'm talking about the ways or the rules of writing the programming language. For Python, we have print statements, we have system.out.print, okay, print line statements for Java, and so on for another programming language. These are the syntax. Okay, and if you want to use C++, most of the C++ syntax, you have to include your preprocessors and the right one. For now, you are going to basically focus on just one preprocessor, which is the IO stream processor, also known as the input output stream header. Okay, the input output stream header. This input output stream header basically allows us to call the cout and cin function. Alright, cout and cin function. The cout basically signifies sends out or system out, which we're going to use to send out information or send out a statement or send out an instruction to the computer, while the cin is going to be used to receive information from user, right, to collect data from user. So right, just like in Python you have print. Alright, C++ makes use of the cout, okay, and in Python you have the input. C++ makes use of the cin, okay. In time I'll be learning how to use this. So if the preprocessor, this hashtag include stream, is not added in our code, it's going to be a problem for we to make use of the cout and cin. Alright, and another thing again we need to include in our code right after our preprocessor is our standard namespace. Alright, the standard namespace is a universal declarator to allow you to properly use cout and cin. Right, I'm sorry, looks like something's trying to update itself. Okay, alright, okay. So as I was saying earlier, in order for it, basically the preprocessor allows you to use this function, yes, but these have to be declared. Alright, and in order for you to declare that, that's where we're going to have the standard namespace, which is written as std. Back then, in order to use each of these statements, alright, there are ways which we had to write them. In, like, if I wanted to use the cout statement, we had to do this, and I don't want to teach you this method, it's outdated. So basically now we basically just reuse this nice space, which is called using namespace std. So using the standard namespace. Alright, let's move to our compiler and try this out. So as I said earlier, the first thing we need to include is our preprocessor, which is done with hashtag include ios stream. So basically this is going to allow us to use the input and output function. Then to declare our input and output function, we're going to have using namespace std. So this is using the standard namespace, and as you can see I did something, I applied a semicolon. Yes, in C++ every statement must end with a semicolon. It's very important. Now we have basically created our preprocessor. That's nice. That's the first step you need to know. Now we've also created our standard namespace to declare our cout and cin word. Now the next thing we need to do is to open our main method. Alright, and declaring our main method goes in this way: int main, and we open up the curly braces. This is where every of our C++ code is going to be written. As I said, C++ is an object-oriented programming, so it's going to make use of int main method and classes. Alright, so for now let's just focus on main method. Alright, so int main, and this main method is going to be void. You don't need to write void there. No, it's automatically void the way it is, so you can just leave it like that. Okay, so now we've completed 3 steps. We've created our preprocessor header, we've created our using namespace, standard namespace, and we've added a main method. Now each of our C++ code is going to be written inside our main method, not out of this main method. Okay, not out here, no, it's going to be in here. Alright, this curly braces signifies the body of your code that has to be run into the main method. Alright, so each of the code is going to be run into the main method. That is what the compiler is going to do. Alright, let's create our first statement. Alright, as I said earlier, the C++ makes use of the cout statement. Basically sends out data, or print out instructions to the computer. Okay, and as I said, our CPP is compiled into an exe, which is an executable file that will be run in this Windows terminal. Okay, now how do we make use of this statement? So we say cout, then notice something I'm going to do. Alright, I'm just going to put this. Okay, This is the semantics and this is the syntax of C++. Okay, it looks a bit complex, but once you practice it and have understanding of what each line does, you're going to get used to it. All right, now notice something. I want to print out a word. Okay, I just want to say hello world. Okay, all right, so I'm going to put hello world, sorry, hello world in curly braces, and this is a statement, so I'm going to end it with a semicolon. Very important, and you're going to see what happens if we did not include semicolon in our code. Now, why is hello world in a double quote? All right, when we learn about data types, you're going to know why I have to put hello world in a double quote. All right, but this double quote basically tells the compiler that this word, this data I'm sending out, has the data type of string. Okay, and if you understand what data types are basically the types of data we have. Basically, you have the alphabetical data, numerical data, and the rest. In programming, we have the same thing, but on a different methodology. Okay, so basically, this program is complete. All right, so we can run this, and if we run this program, we're going to tell the computer to, hey, send out this word, hello world. Okay, and the computer is going to look at, all right, let's look at this send out. What is send out? Then using a standard namespace, you're going to tell the computer that send out is basically my syntax, which was created inside this stream preprocessor. Okay, it's a C++. Then the compiler understands, okay, and transform it into a readable language by the computer. Then the computer is going to be like, all right, located in this int main method, all right, this is your output. Okay, so that's what's going to be happening behind the scene. So you don't need to know what's happening behind the scene. Yours is just to write the code, make sure you understand what you're doing, and run it. Now, for those of you who are using dev C++, to run this code, we're just going to strike the F11 button. If the F11 button is not functional, you can basically use this. All right, see this compile and run. So we're going to press F11. All right, then we're going to wait. Okay, good. Our code is out. So here we have it. Hello world. Beautiful. Yep, you are a C++ programmer now. Very easy. If you have any difficulty in coding this, you can now drop your questions in the comment section below, or basically you can just check the video description. All right, there are going to be some links there. One of the links is going to include a WhatsApp link to my programming tutorial group, or a WhatsApp link to message me directly, and you can ask any questions and feel free. I'm going to give you definite answers. And the link to download the dev C++ also is going to be presented in the video description. And for those who want to use your Android mobile, I'm going to also include a link to download dev C++ from Play Store. Alright, so we have our terminal. So as you can see, here we have something different. Our code file is basically .cpp, and here we have .exe. As I said, basically the compiler is going to compile the cpp file into an exe readable application where we're going to run. Basically, we've just built a terminal application. Now go back to your code file. Let's go back to our code file. Okay, just going to just close this down, sorry. Let's go back to our code file, which is the C++ code. Let me open this. You notice now we have let's ignore this. We have two folders, two files here. We have the C++ source file, as you can see, which is the cpp project.cpp, if you can see closing. Then here you have the project executioner file, which is the application we have built. If you run this application, you're going to have the terminal opened briefly. Alright, let me close down this terminal. Alright, let me go back to the folder. Okay, since I'm having issue, it's just a bit. Okay, alright, so basically this CPP was compiled to generate this application. Alright, so this application is basically the program we created. Alright, the program we created to print out hello world. And if we go back to our compiler, alright, since we've compiled it, all you have to do is just press F10. you have it here. So this is the project, the application project we created, which printed out was hello world. Okay, cool, right? All right, very easy. Now let's get back to what we did. Okay, we first of all created a preprocessor. All right, now let's see what happens if this preprocessor is not available in this code. So I'm just going to save this and run. Oh, look at, it said error, cout was not declared in this scope. This is basically a syntax error. Okay, because the compiler does not recognize where cout is coming from. The compiler doesn't even think that this code is a C++ code. Okay, so that is why it's very important for this preprocessor should be available. Okay, it brings out the library functions for you to use the cout and the cin and other reserved words that are made for the C++. What also happens if I remove our standard namespace, which basically declares our cout? All right, now let's save this and run. You also have it. It said cout was not declared in this scope. All right, so this error is basically, it's going to be the same thing, because if this standard namespace and the preprocessors are not present in your code, you are not going to be able to use the cout function or the cout statement. Okay, you're not going to be able to use the cout statement or the cin statement. But if there were no statements, right, save this and run. All right, it's compiled successfully, but nothing is here. All right, no instruction, because you haven't given the code any instruction to perform. There is nothing to perform. It's basically just running an empty body of code, right, an empty main method of code. Okay, now let's see what happens if I basically place my statement out of the main method. Sorry, so I'm just going to cut this and just place it here. Alright, so I made my cout statement out of my main method. Now let's see if it's going to run. See, it says cout does not name a type, because it's basically out of the main method. Okay, so every of your code has to be included in the main method. If there was no main method present here, it's going to also generate the same error. Alright, so place our code back into main method, save, run this file. Alright, we have hello world. Okay, you could also print out other things. It doesn't have to be hello world. You could also send out this is my first code, save, F11. Alright, you can see it here. This is my first code. So basically, as I said earlier, the cout statement is the cout statement basically used to give the instructions basically to the computer. Alright, so tell the computer, alright, I want you to print out this statement. Alright, send out this statement. This is my first code. So it compiles and runs it. Okay, alright, so I believe everyone now is happy. You created your first C++ program, but that's not all. Let's look at something else. Well, now, why is this sentence in the double quotes? What happens if I remove this quotes? Let's see. Alright, I remove this quotes, I save, I run F11. See, this was not declared in this scope. That is where the data types and declaration comes in. Alright, this is what we call data types. This data type basically consists of the number words or the number data which you are familiar with. Okay, we have string, we have integer, int, we have boolean, we also have double, we have float, and we have char, and other sorts of data types. For the int, we have the long and short int. Now, for every string data type basically creates a means of which a variable can be able to store down alphabetical words, sentence, or words. Okay, so string basically stores words, and integer basically stores real or direct numbers without any decimal point. Bool is a data type that doesn't basically stores anything but returns two values which are true and false. The double basically stores a bigger amount of decimal value where you have 2.0000, and so the float stores decimal value of 0 point to any real number. And the char also stores words, but this time it doesn't just store full words or sentences like the string. Rather, it stores single characters. For example, A to Z. Alright, let's say I want to declare A as a character constant. I basically just put A in a single quote. Alright, unlike strings, to declare strings we place the word A in a double quote. Now basically we have the same value, A and A, yes, but they have different data types. The computer is going to read this as a string, and it's going to read this as a char. Okay, but it is not professional to do this, because basically string stores words and sentences. Okay, it can be anything, all right, as long as they are words, alphabets, okay, and they are always enclosed in quotes, while char are always enclosed in a single quote, while the rest of the values such as float, double and integers are not enclosed in any quotes or whatsoever. So I'm just going to clear this off from my screen. Now let's start by creating a program that prints out our age. Now we're going to create a variable, right? In order to make use of data types, or to manifest the data types application, or to apply data types, we have to create something called a variable. In programming, a variable is a container that basically stores or holds a value. If you remember in algebra, where you could have x is equals to 6 and you say y is equals to 2, and you have x plus y, which should basically be equals to 7, right? Good. These x and y are regarded to as variable because x is storing a value of 6 and y is storing a value of 1. So automatically when you say x plus y, you are having 6 plus 1. Alright, so this is variable, and this is basically known as an assignment. Okay, assigning the value of 1 to y. But in this case we're going to do this a bit different. Alright, yes, x is equals to 6, but remember, our C++ code must always end with a semicolon. Please do not forget that, must always end with a semicolon. Without that, you're going to have a lot of errors. Okay, now we basically said x is equals to 6 and you want to print out x. All right, let's just go for it. Let's see what happens. All right, then I put my semicolon, I save, and I run. It said x was not declared in this scope. It's giving us the same error we encountered when we were trying to use the cout statement without including our preprocessor. Now it's not even a wonder, is x also a reserved word? No, x is not a reserved word. We created this. All right, it's our variable, but we have not declared our variable. Okay, so I'm just going to come, before you create a variable you must declare the variable. Now our variable is holding what type of data type? An integer, right? Good. So I'm going to say int x. Now we have basically declared that this data type x should only hold integer value. Anything here is going to be void. Alright, you're saying x is equals to yes, and we all know that this is automatically a string because I said earlier that this holds a string. Okay, so I'm going to remove this because we're not printing out string, we're printing out a variable, and you just say this, get conversion from conversion from constant char to int. So basically it's just having a bit of logical error here. All right, so this is what we got to as a logical error. We basically said x is equals to yes as a string, and we all know that x is declared, so it's basically invalid. All right, it's not right, it's not supposed to be in this way. So x that we've declared as an integer should only hold numerical value, so we don't want to make our code messy, so we do this. Now you notice something. Now when we're printing our hello world, I had to place our hello world in a double quote. Now basically I only did that because hello world was a sentence and a word, and remember I told you that hello world was put in a double quote because it was a string data type. All right, it was a string, and I told you that string basically holds down values that are what in the alphabets, basically words or sentences. Okay, but in this case our integer is not a sentence and neither is it a string. So in order to tell the computer to print out the value of 3, we're going to call out our variable, which is x. Okay, all right. So x is not going to be in any quote, whether it's single or double. No, the double quote belongs to string, the single quote belongs to char. In this case, this is int. All right, we have declared int x. All right, so int has a data type, which is x is a data type of what? Integer. So therefore the x variable can only store numerical value, true numerical value, which are known as real numbers, not numbers with points or fractions, no, but real numbers. So save this and run. We have 3 right here, as you can see. Okay, so we have 3. So if I change this number to 31115, this is basically a long int running, you have it coming out. Now what if I decide now I want to be stubborn and I just want to put x in the double quotes? All right, let's see how it goes. We're going to run this. Our output is x. Why is it x? Because basically you simply told the compiler that x is a string. Okay, so it is not using this x that is here. No, this x is a variable and it has no business to be a string, and this variable is an integer variable. So if we want to print out x, you need to call x. What you just did here was just print out the statement x, which is basically a string. So in order to print out a variable, you must make use of the x. Okay, now what if I want to print out my name? I'm going to assign a variable string name, which is going to hold down a string, right? Now name is equals to, in quotes, Michael. All right, as you can see now, Michael is in quotes because it's a string. Okay, if Michael is not in a quote, it's not going to print out, it's going to generate an error simply saying that Michael was not declared. And now let's send out Michael. So in this case, we don't need to start sending out Michael as we did earlier. No, all we need to do is just to print out the variable, which is name. Okay, so in this case, we don't need to put name in our quotes. No, name is the variable, and the variable is holding down Michael, and Michael is a data type of what? String. Okay, so running this code, we have a number and we have Michael. Now there's something that is odd about our output. Why are they in the same line? It's kind of weird. That is where we're going to have the next reserve word, or should we call it statement, which is known as the \n, also known as the end line function. But this is a old methodology of writing, so we're not going to make use of this. We're going to make use of this end line. All right, so the end line statement is basically added after our cout statement, and it's going to go like this: cout our message in quotes. If it's not a variable, then end line semicolon. All right, so this is basically going to tell the compiler that every statement that comes after this statement should start on the next line. Okay, so I'm just going to come here and add our end line, save, come here too, and add our end line. So basically now the output of name and the output of x is going to be on a separate line. So run the code. As you can see now, the number is up and Michael is down. All right, so now you have a bit of understanding of the basic concept. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section or come straight to the WhatsApp group chat, and I will provide answers to your questions. Now the best way for you to practice and understand this code is basically keep recording. All right, keep recording. You could master trying to tell the computer to print out all sorts of things, create variables, create data types. All right, let's create something else. All right, let's create a float data type, and let's say float result. All right, and our result is equals to 12.90. and we want to print this out, so we say print out our results. Okay, end line. So running this, as you can see, the float eliminated the 0. So that's pretty all on the basic concept of C++ programming. So all you have to do is just to create practice by trying creating a new variable and try printing another variable. You can also experiment with the char, right? The same way we created the string is the same way we're going to create a char. Let me just give an example. So you have char choice, okay, and you're going to say choice equals to y. Okay, so this is basically the easiest way and the professional way of assigning and creating a char variable. So you have a char variable choice, and choice value is y, okay, with a single quote. So these are everything, the basics you need to know about C++. So just be sure you practice these basics. In our next video tutorial, we're going to look at maths operation. Right, we're going to learn how to solve math problems using C++ codes and how to create math problem solving code. Right, please don't forget to subscribe, like and share, and comment anything which you may want to be included in this video, or share your opinion. Alright, thank you. So have a wonderful day.